Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to another indie book review. This one, I actually had a pretty quick turnaround. At the beginning of June, I had read another book by this author for my Pride TBR, and then he offered me another one for review. And of course I said yes, and that is for Chasing Ghosts by Dean Cole. This is a fairly standard ghost story. However, I appreciated that it was different because it has some queer elements. Our protagonist, Quentin Strange, is queer and it is in own voices, and I really appreciated that. And right away, it definitely stood out from your standard ghost story because the plot itself is... You've seen it before if you've read anything like this. Quentin is a photographer, newly hired with his partner, Kat, and they are going to this old manor to tag along with this group of ghost hunters, and they are supposed to basically write an article about the ghosts of the manor and whether or not they're there. Kat is fairly skeptical. I'm not the biggest fan of her character in general. She was meant to be one of those really, really brisk types that, like, secretly it's all a shield hiding pain, but, like, it took me a while. Like, longer than it took other characters in the story to like her. Quentin, I really enjoyed. I actually liked him more than the other Dean Cole protagonists that I had read. Because that one in the book His Boy was a bit more of a queen in loving salons, and it's not who I am as a person, so I connected a lot more with the quiet, nerdy, anxious Quentin more than anything else. He is gay. It is an integral part of his character. I appreciated him maybe a budding romance, but I won't say too much about that. There are also some other queer themes later on that I can't get too into because of spoilers, but suffice to say it's not just in the protagonist's sexuality that it comes up, and I appreciated that as well. The one struggle I did have was the characters themselves. You had the few that were like really looked into with backstories and nuanced personalities, and then the rest kind of felt like cardboard cutouts. For example, there was the three that you really focus on in the story, which is Will, Kat, and Quentin, and you have the ghost hunters, and there's a couple other people kind of tagging along for the ride. The problem is that really there's like two other people that don't need to be there. They're just extra. Like, they have a dog, and the dog might sometimes like screw some things up accidentally, but like them being there adds nothing. And the ghost hunters themselves don't have much in the way of personality. There are some other staff members of the house itself that get a little bit more. And there's another woman named Esther who is like the kind of like mystic psychic edition. It was also weird because that's my older sister's name and I almost never see it in fiction. And so when I do, it always weirds me out, but I appreciated her. I guess I kind of go for the weird mystic hippie types as well. This is definitely a philosophical take on ghosts, an emotional take on ghosts. Quentin has been searching for evidence of ghosts without a lot of skepticism. He's not a skeptical character at all, which is definitely different for your average ghost story. This isn't a case of a skeptic that has to be convinced ghosts are real, which I kind of liked because that's such an overdone character arc at this point. His arc had much more to do with him basically coming to grips with certain things that happened in his past and coming to grips with certain abilities that he may have. And they're not very over the top, they're pretty low key, but I appreciated that the finality at the end of his arc at the end of this book was very bittersweet in that beautiful way, and I appreciated that, like, made your heart ache, but like in the good way, if that makes sense. So I really liked that part. Kat started to grow on me as the story progressed. I'm still not the biggest fan of her, and it's pretty set, I believe, based on the ending teaser of the first book, that she is going to be a recurring character throughout the series, and I believe Will be as well. But the actual reveal of who the ghost was and what happened to make them a ghost was so sad, so heartbreaking, and a little bit of a twist. I would have liked at least one or two other hints beforehand, although I did guess a couple things ahead of time. And I actually don't take that as a fault of the book. I actually like it when I can start putting pieces together beforehand. That's a big part of the fun in a mystery is I want to be able to try to like figure it out for myself and then double check my work when it's revealed. But it was so good. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I had to take off 1 because there were a lot of characters that felt like cutouts, and also a lot of characters that were focused on kind of gave their tragic backstory without a lot of prodding. This entire book takes place in one weekend because it's a weekend trip, and it's like, wow, this person he just started working with, or this person he just met, is pouring out their tragic backstory to him, and it's like, it feels a little too soon. I almost would have preferred if we had like dropped hints that something had happened and then spent more time rounding out the cast as a whole. And then in future books, we could delve more into the recurring characters' backgrounds because you would have more time in future books. But that's also kind of me. I'm a very slow burn person. I like waiting and getting 3 or 4 books in before the declaration of love or before the big reveal of the secret tragic past. It makes it more dramatic for me. However, this book was a fairly quick and easy read, but like not in a negative way. It was quick and easy in that the writing style was very easy to follow. It was very atmospheric, a lot of crows and darkness and strange noises. So you'll still need to like that kind of dark stuff. However, it doesn't get so overly dark. I mean, the reveal of the ghost was like dark in a humanity can get dark kind of way, but it doesn't go hard with the spooky ghosty stuff. So maybe if you're not as into the spooky ghosty stuff, this might be a good book to kind of like dip your toe into the genre. As for me, I appreciated it. I'm not usually spooked out by books because, well, I have to imagine the things myself. It's not quite as effective for me as a movie, but it was more effective for me than most. The scene in the cellar particularly was, but regardless, I really appreciated this. I appreciated the LGBTQ plus elements, and I think you might as well. Now, if you are an indie author and you are looking for a review, something like this one, please send me an email. I will have my email down in the description below. I will also have my review policy down there. Please give that a read through. It answers a lot of questions and saves us a lot of time. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.